What is going on, everybody? BobbyFi with my man Eric Sheets-Haber. All I can say, man, is it's good to have the NBA back. Had my first one of my better nights in a while last night, and almost took down. I had a shot at a big one. I wasn't going to quite take it down, but it was pretty close. If Anthony Davis, maybe that game goes a little longer, but it was a good night. And more importantly, the Dodgers got a big win, and we're ready to roll today. Anything for you? And then what do you think about tonight's slate?
Yeah, I just I made I think what did I say, $6 last night. It's just the way it goes. But I was happy with I was a little unhappy with the industry sort of. I'm not so happy with the industry. Why did we all just think Bruce Brown was going to play? I don't know. It was very interesting. I don't know I don't know exactly what that was all about. But he was pretty highly owned, pretty highly projected. And I don't think he played at all, which is
well, there's no reason based on the previous experience that he wouldn't have played. It's only you're basing a new season, a new team, and it's going to happen. So I wouldn't have been surprised if anybody I said got a DNP CD last night.
Okay.
But I hear you. When he wasn't in the starting lineup, it was a little bit alarming thinking about him. But I hear you. It was.
But the two main value plays both did really nicely. The Nora and the and Jordan Poole. And LeBron played really nicely. Giannis played really well.
Anthony Davis
played really well. Yeah, so it some good showcases to start the season off.
And my man Beal coming through for me big time.
That's it.
Like 36 fantasy points or something. All right. Let's jump into tonight's slate. It was really fun to have basketball back. I'm not, even though the Lakers didn't look all that great, I'm not worried about it. It's going to take a little while for that team. But we'll jump into tonight's slate. Sheets, why don't we pull up your screen and go game by game here, because we got a pretty big slate and it's been a while here. So we've got a lot of different ways we can go, I feel like. I don't feel like there's there's a thing that stood out. There's a bunch of guys who I could argue for being must-have, because I feel like everybody's still a little too or most guys are still a little too cheap. But when you look at this first game, let's start with you. Is there anybody you feel especially interested in other than, we have the usual guys we could talk through, but I don't see any of them really showing up for me as incredible. Oh, I'm sorry, except for Chris Duarte. That's the obvious value, the one that I missed. But in this game, Chris Duarte is the only one I have that I have serious interest in.
First of all, I'd like to remind everybody to make sure that you consider late swap when you play NBA DFS. Especially when you have a big slate. If things aren't going well in the early games, if you could make meaningful pivots in later games, it's something you have to consider. And I'm going to be saying that as a disclaimer, literally every slate preview. So we're back to Indianapolis, Charlotte, right? I used to say that these guys play seemingly every day.
Yeah.
Usually starts off the slate at 7:00. And to be completely honest, I have no idea who Duarte is. Oh, there he is. I got him. Duarte shows up for me as yes, he's definitely looks to be a really strong value, but I also have Sabonis. Nothing particularly sexy about that play, but he's rating to be a good play like he usually does. Who else do I have in this game? Lamelo at 7,700. I think he's viable tonight. Again, a really, really big slate, so you're gonna have to make some decisions, but I do think he's viable. I think Sabonis is viable. And I guess that's really all I have from this game. So Chris Duarte, Lamelo, and Sabonis.
I understand all that. And the thing is, like Sabonis, I completely get it. I think he smashed against this team a number of times last year and the year before. But I personally, the only issue is that just a 9.8 price tag. We're going to see if I want to see if I can do a little better. I think there's going to be some other spots. I actually think Miles Turner is an interesting play at 5,700. And I think you could make an argument for Torrey Craig, but we've all been down that. And in terms of, he's a real good real life player, but not the most exciting guy to roster for fantasy. But I do like Miles Turner a little bit at 5,700. He's going to be up and down with his numbers, but I could see him getting to 40 here. So I have Turner actually on my list, who I should have mentioned as well. Let's move on to the next one, Chicago and Detroit. And we've got an interesting situation now with our former team that we love to attack and love to use to attack everyone else. You've got a Bulls team who actually on their face, like each player, if you just look at them based on last year, other than maybe Vooch, even Vooch is probably would seem a little cheap. They would all seem a little too cheap. But the way that things are spread out in their offense, I'm having trouble getting to many of them. And honestly, the real play, the guy who's going to be a big part of their team, I think, and oddly enough, a part of their success is Alex Caruso. So I can actually mention on a full slate that Alex Caruso is viable, in my opinion. I think there's better options for some value, but he's definitely a guy I've got on my list. And I think Jeremy Grant is too cheap. I'm very interested in speculating on all of these Detroit guys, but they priced them up sort of knowing that I was going to do that, or knowing that we as a community were going to do that. They're well priced, in my opinion. I think you can make an argument for Frank Jackson, but Jeremy Grant and Alex Caruso are probably the guys I'm most interested in this game.
You know, as we go through the slate, you're going to hear this a lot from me because I don't really follow off-season trades. I don't really follow sports unless I'm actually following them. So there'll be probably 10 to 15 times I'm going to say, he's on this team. Because first I'm looking at DeMar DeRozan on Chicago. I literally don't know any of this. I'm going to have to get used to these new guys. So they have, you're telling me, Levine, DeRozan, and Vooch. That could be a. I mean, they could make the playoffs, right?
And Lonzo.
Wow, and they got to be favored to make the playoffs, right? I mean, that's
They're supposed to make the playoffs, probably projected around between the 7th and 8th seed. I think they could actually do a little better than that.
Okay.
They're better.
So I still kind of want to keep playing Levine anyway. Even though I mean, look, to get DeRozan and Vooch, I mean, obviously it's not the Zach LaVine show like it was, but eventually I'm not gonna play him 8,700, but I'll play him eventually, I think, because he still has that ability to do Zach LaVine things. I don't have much of an interest at all in this game. Nobody really makes my list, at least. And remember, this is super duper early, but none of this really makes my list too much. So if you want to talk me into Jeremy Grant or somebody from that side, I'll listen a little later. But for now, I'm probably going to pass on this game.
Makes sense. I do understand. I do think there's always an argument to be made for Levine. The price is a little bit higher than I'd want to pay for him, but I think that there is a legitimate chance. And I'm not making this call, but if you want to know a weird prediction, because everybody sees, there's more guys to spread the ball out there and all that, he's their guy. There's an outside. He's the long shot guy I would bet on to win the scoring title this year, but I don't think he's going to. I just think that you're going to have it. You might have yourself more of a chance than you think you do. Will. I actually think the other guys being there could end up helping him. So, and he's really ascending. All right, let's move over to Boston, New York. This is another one where I don't have a ton of interest. I think the Robert Williams speculation play is a really good one. I think RJ Barrett is completely reasonable at 5.7. Those are the only guys I really have on my list.
I have a pass on this game, except because this is what happens. Like usually, when Julius Randle usually shows up at near the top of my value charts for kind of spend ups. And it's always like, do I feel like paying it, whatever it is. He's not really even showing up too much for me today. So for him, he'd be the only guy I'd consider in the Knicks in this spot, and I'd be really stretching. So I just think it's a huge slate. There's going to be better options than him. And Boston, I didn't quite see the Robert Williams again. This is like early runs, whatever it is. I didn't quite see anything from him. I'll just throw out there that Jason Tatum is a really good basketball player. And maybe this is the MVP year. Maybe this is the year that he emerges. I don't know. But I really don't have much interest in this game either.
Yeah, if he was starting at this price against anybody but the Knicks, I probably would. But the slow down pace, they'll pay attention to him, all that stuff. All right, let's move over to Washington, Toronto, because I actually do like this game a ton. And I think there are going to be 100 ways to go. You're going to want to watch for starting lineups. Be with you guys at 6 Eastern time to try and figure this stuff out. And hopefully we'll have those in by then. I think we will. But Scottie Barnes, I love. Here's my favorite I know he's not everyone's favorite, but he's my favorite to win the Rookie of the Year. He's going to play a bunch of minutes for Toronto. He is an absolutely versatile. It does everything. You could not score a point and get you plenty of fantasy points. He could also go out there and score 20 points. He's a do-all. I think he's the best actual play on the slate point per dollar wise for me, at least as of right now. It depends on how they start. I do believe they'll start him and play him a lot of minutes. Precious is 3,100 and going to get minutes in Toronto against this Washington front court that we like to attack. Daniel Gafford, pretty much all the way down the line here. I can keep going. Goran Dragic. It's speculative with some of these guys, but Montrezl Harrell or Gafford. I don't even care which. I mean, if Harrell, I would assume that they're going to start Gafford, but if they, for any reason, started Harrell at 3,700, that's kind of crazy. But even if he's not starting, I have interest there. I have interest in Anunoby at 6,100. I know that seems like a lot for him. This is Toronto. I'm sure this is Washington. And to remember, those guys, Pascal Siakam isn't there. Kyle Lowry isn't there. These other guys for this Toronto team are going to have to step up. You do have Dragic there, but he's 5K. Kyle Kuzma at 5,100, I have interest in. I have interest in Van Fleet at 7,500. I'm interested all the way down, but the highest level of interest for me are Scottie Barnes, Daniel Gafford / Montrezl Harrell / Dragic. Those guys would have about a tie. And then I'd have Anunoby, Van Vliet, then Kuzma. But Kuzma, I mean, you could argue is better than all those. I mean, except for Barnes, maybe. Are you seeing the same as me on this game?
So I have, I don't know if you want to do the Washington side first before you.
Sorry, I usually do that. I'm sorry. I should have gone that way. I just was very into the whole game. Keep going.
It's up to you. You want me to just go Toronto first?
Whatever you want.
So I have Scottie Barnes as clearly the best value on the slate. And you know, he's going to be popular, but you know, we'll deal with popularity a little bit later. He's going to rate as the top point per dollar place. I mean, especially if he starts by a lot. The other Toronto guys, I still get to some Red Van Vliet at 7,500. He's on my list for Toronto, and the Washington side for me. I don't know exactly who's playing or who's starting, whatever it is, but right now Spencer Dinwiddie at 4,900 is kind of a standout over there. So that's what I would say about that. But I mean, just in general, you have Bradley Beal without Westbrook now. He's not projecting really well, and for the life of me, I can't quite figure out why. He's supposedly going to play. His back was hurting, whatever it is. But did I miss like a lot of offseason stuff where Bradley Beal, you shouldn't be just playing him every game? You know what I mean?
He's not used to usually 9,500.
That's true. So I do have Spencer Dinwiddie is kind of a standout player over there. So you know, you have a bunch of value you can play. You can play Barnes and Dinwiddie in the same game, and you know, I just might do that.
Yep. Yeah, I think there's legitimately you could build lineups with 4 or 5 guys, maybe even more from this game. This is a really, really good game to target. The pricing isn't caught up. It's a good pace environment. There's always a little bit of a blowout risk with either of these teams going either direction, but I wouldn't imagine Toronto comes out laying an egg on their first game. And the streakiness of Kyle Kuzma, given his opportunity, I think he's a really strong play as well. I really like 1 through 8 in this whole game value wise. Not always the best player. Oddly enough, Bradley Beal's the one guy I don't have that much of, but I might need to include him because if I'm going to stack the game, you know, it's a little different with basketball how that works. But you can still, you know, he can do the scoring and the other guys can get you the other numbers, and he's not going to score all the points. But I really like this whole game in general.
Boy, I'm going to go ahead to this next game because I mean, this Cleveland-Memphis game too. I mean, this could be kind of a fun slate because there's a lot of cool value throughout this slate. Yeah. So and Cleveland-Memphis has 2 of them. Like for me, again, this is 11:30 in the morning, but like 2 of the top 10 values are coming from this game too. So I have Jaren Jackson at 5,900 for Memphis and Evan Mobley from Cleveland at 4,500. So these guys are going to be a big part of all the value, you know, wherever you want to play value. And I don't know. I was expecting to see other stuff from this game, like the normal Memphis dudes, but not really. I'm just getting those 2 value guys. Yeah.
I love Mobley and Jackson as well. I think Desmond Bane is now starting. He's an excellent value play. Just a matter of how you weigh all the value today.
Okay.
Lauri Markkanen is 4,100 and should be playing minutes.
What team is he on?
He's on Cleveland.
Nice.
So I think Lauri Markkanen is a guy I definitely want to have some of tonight, and actually probably a good bit of. I think he might even end up being better than some of these other value stuff. I don't think we need to get into the Brandon Clark thing, but I certainly am into it. If you want to take a shot there, I don't know how many minutes he's going to play with Tillman there. There's just a lot of bodies, but it's always like that with Brandon Clark, and he has those 35 fantasy point games, so he could I expect one of these Memphis value guys, Bane, Melton, being the main two, and then Brandon Clark or Tillman having a decent game behind them. And the guy who's not going to project well, but I will say that I think is a strong play, is Jared Allen. I just think that there's a massive amount of upside for him, and it's against a team that attacks the basket like this. Maybe on FanDuel, let me see his price, 6,900, a little more expensive. I don't think anybody's playing Jared Allen tonight, and I will probably have a little bit of him, partly because he won me all the money the first day slate last year, but I think it's 6,500 that he could actually have a really big game against Memphis here, and there's a projection for him about 30 minutes. I think there's a chance for him to play more than that this year. So I think you could see him 34 to 36 potentially, depending on how the game goes. So I like this game as well. It's a great game for value, but Mobley and Jackson are certainly the best two plays, I think, with Markkanen being behind them and then Bane.
I'm pumped, man. I like this slate.
Yeah. There's some stuff to do, and there's a lot of new stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Houston, Minnesota. If I had to close my eyes and tell you 5 guys on Houston, I know I would get them wrong. I would just pick the same guys that were there last year. I know you're going to tell me they're all gone. Is like Kevin Porter Jr. still there before you even look?
Yeah, he's still there.
He's still there?
Yeah, they made him like $1 million, but he's still there.
I'm just wondering, and who else? All those all those Houston guys from last year that they were just dead all year. The whole team had nobody the whole season. What's his name back? Is Oladipo back?
Well, no, Oladipo's not back.
Oh, I don't know. It's like Akeem Olajuwon play. I really have no idea who's playing for Houston this year.
No, the new guy, the key is going to be the rookie in this game. That's Jalen Green.
Yeah, so he's the one guy that I have from the Houston side that's showing up as a value. So he's so I'm just going to throw him in there just so you guys can all see. And yeah, I have him. And then we have our first, at least for me, first legitimate spend up that we could talk about. To me, they're like 3 like really, really good spend ups. And they're all the same position. And one of them is Karl-Anthony Towns. So we can talk about that. I think he's certainly in play. I don't have him as good of a play as the other 2 big centers, but he'll be less owned. And I like that. So I will throw Cat in the mix of a 12-game slate discussion.
Yeah, I like Cat actually quite a bit. Okay. I think Cat, Jalen Green. I have no problem. Anybody who wants to play Anthony Edwards, this is a great matchup for both these teams. Anybody who wants to play Anthony Edwards or Christian Wood, no problem. I'm not going to be doing it probably, but I will play some Malik Beasley at 5,300. So Beasley, Cat are my main 2 for that side, and then I like Green a lot on the Houston side. I don't think I'm going to mess around with any other business in this game. I just think it's gets a little thin after that point. How about Philadelphia, New Orleans?
So here we go. We have rebellion. We have Ben Simmons doesn't want to do a defensive closeout drill. And where the hell did he come off being all like that? I wasn't expecting that.
The whole thing was nuts.
I don't know what that's all about, but what that means is 2 plays, at least for me, kind of stand out in that side of the ball. One would be Mr. Embiid, who probably would have stood out anyway. He stands out as probably the top play for me on the slate. And then there's value play number 9, I guess, in Tyrese Maxey. He's going to show up as a good play. So Tyrese Maxey at 4K, Joel Embiid at 10.6, and I don't quite see anybody on New Orleans that's showing up for me today. I did see that Jonas Valanciunas is on the team, which is different. Yeah, that's what I got. I have interest in Embiid. Because of the way the narrative has been this whole offseason and just all the Ben Simmons talk and the fact that he's not there, I think Embiid is going to end up being the most popular player that in the high tier, Yeah, sure.
So nothing wrong with it. Just want to throw that out there.
Yeah.
And I was looking for a pivot off of him within Philly's lineup, and the natural guy you'd try would be Tobias Harris, but at 7,600 on a full slate, I mean, it would just take him having one of those, 30 and 10 game. I just don't want to bet on that particularly. The guy who I do want to play on the other side is Brandon Ingram. I'm open to. I'm not going to play Joe Val. I'd be open to it in general in most matchups, but not against Embiid here. I really like Brandon Ingram, and all these guards that look like they're overpriced for. I think they aren't. I just don't know if there's anybody I want to marry myself to game one. But I think Brandon Ingram, we might be looking back without
Zion.
Zion, thank you. And be thinking that, God, Brandon Ingram should be 9K plus. And I really think that we might be getting him early. So I do want to take advantage of that. And he's a perfect run back in that game for Embiid. And I agree about Maxey. So you can get a nice little mini game stack with a 3-man right there. I really like that quite a bit.
Okay. Orlando, San Antonio.
Yeah.
I got a couple of sprinkles here. So I mean, I really am not too interested in playing Popovich players on a 12-game slate if I don't have to. But just to throw it out there, Podol, DeJounte Murray look like the best of the San Antonio guys, as far as I'm concerned. But I don't know if I'm gonna do it. On the Orlando side, you get what's his name? You get Bamba. You got Mo Bamba, right?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I think I had him on FanDuel or something.
No, I think he's playing play. I think he's definitely in play. I'm not maybe quite as high on Bamba.
No, it's got to be FanDuel. Yeah, he's 5,700 here, but let me just double check because I had a
on FanDuel, but he's gonna block some shots. He could put up some monster games. I am not necessarily buying in that he's playing 30 minutes or 28 minutes, but it's possible that he does. It's interesting because they have between their centers, they have them projected to play like 70 minutes. So something is going to give there against a small San Antonio team outside of Podol. That's
who do you got? It seemed like I was interrupting that you liked somebody on Orlando. Who do you like over there?
Jalen Suggs.
Who's that?
Another rookie. He's the number 3 overall pick this year.
I don't have a projection on him. Okay.
Yeah, he's supposed
there he is. I got him. There he is.
Yeah, he's going to grade out really well point per dollar wise.
Yeah, not bad.
Along with the other rookies, it's going to be tough because he's not a guy who, in college anyway, his thing was that he's just a great basketball player. He's not going to go out there and score 30 points a game. He's not going to have a million assists or the flashiest play. He's just a great basketball player. Maybe someday he will be that guy, but that's just not how he's been used. But in this offense, there's definitely potential for him to at least get a lot more usage, and he's going to play plenty of minutes. I like Podol actually. If you want to get a little bit, I get the feeling that even though the numbers will show up right, that people aren't going to end up playing that much of him by the time the day actually ends. And I think in a matchup like this, where you're going to have bigs on the court all the time, I think you're going to see Podol play his 32 minutes. So I have Podol as my other guy. The other guys who you maybe would reach for here in these situations, I can get behind. I could get behind either Bamba or Carter. I think Carter would be the better play for me on DraftKings, but I don't feel in love with either one. I would rather play Podol on the other side with the minutes in a secure position or whatever. I also think that Kelden Johnson is interesting as a guy who I don't think anyone will play today. At least I'm missing, unless I may be missing something, but I do like Kelden Johnson. I think that he played with the U.S. team in the offseason. He's the one guy on San Antonio who I feel like I have interest in because Murray is fine, White is fine, and all that, but Kelden Johnson's gonna do a lot of scoring. He's gonna do a lot of rebounding, a lot of banging. So I actually like Kelden Johnson's man.
This is fun. So I took out kind of like the better players. So I'm just have the all the values kind of in this just so I remind myself who they are. And there's actually going to be one more that we're going to get to a little later. But so probably Jalen Green, Duarte, Barnes, Mobley, Jackson, Dinwiddie, Precious, and Jalen Suggs. There's a lot of guys that you can go to here. A lot of guys that can bust. You know what I mean? A lot of pivots, a lot of whatever. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot to do on this slate for sure. The value in it, there's still more to come.
Yeah. Oh, really? I just got one more. All right. So let's see.
What do you got here?
That's the last one. The last one I got is coming from this game. So that would be Josh Giddey.
Yep.
From Oklahoma City. That would be the last of my values like that. So maybe I'll miss one. So Josh Giddey, he is 3,800. And he's in the mix. I presume he's a rookie.
Yep.
So I have him in there. And then it's also, it could be another season of good development out of SGA. So he's gonna, he continues to have upside. So I like him. And what else in this game? I don't have a lot. I mean, Gobert is obviously always playable, but I mean, he's competing with so much other center center people in here. So yeah, so I think the guy I mentioned, Josh Giddey, maybe some SGA. SGA actually ranks to be a pretty good play, man, at 7,200. So maybe him.
Yeah, I think SGA is a terrific. This is way too cheap for him. It doesn't even make any sense. The only thing is, this game is what you'd worry about blowing out. SGA projected for 35 minutes. That's possible. Are they going to do that to their future of their franchise in the year where they're not really going to be playing? It's kind of early in the season to be saying that kind of stuff, because I think you give it your best foot forward going and playing in Utah is not a regular season. Doesn't sound like a good regular season opportunity for this team. So I do like SGA a ton though. Still, it's just the price I can't get over. So he is one of my priority plays. And then Giddey, I'm okay with, but not as high on as some of the other value.
Okay.
On the Denver Phoenix side of things.
Is this a rematch of the conference championship?
Yeah.
Okay.
Denver Phoenix, I think Michael Porter's too cheap. I think his projections are too low. I think there's an excellent chance that he averages like more than 25 a game this year. Like, I think he's going to have a big leap this year. And I want to get in early on him. Not that the matchup's great. He did have some big games here, but it's fine. Jokic is the obvious other center to use, but I think I would rather play Embiid than him. But if you're taking about the owner, it's close. I like both of them. But I do like MPJ a little better than Jokic in this particular game. And on the Phoenix side, I don't think I can get to basically anyone, except for maybe take a shot with Booker, but that would just be a shot. How about you, Sheets?
Yeah, so Jokic, I couldn't have put it better with respect to the centers here. I think that he is a little bit worse than Embiid, but he's going to be a little less owned. How much less owned is unclear. But he's certainly really, really good, and he's going to fill up the stat sheet for the rest of his career. And he's going to be a good play every single day. I think it's a good opportunity, since you brought up Michael Porter Jr., to talk about a little bit of which is an important dynamic, I think, especially in the NBA. I said yesterday how projections were really, really important, but the other thing to keep in mind is that you have two players with the same median projection. One guy could be a much better GPP play than the other, because the way that particular players' results distribute, it's really important how you get to that median. And there are some players who are good kind of cash game type plays that are just good to crank out that median on a regular basis. And there are other guys that have the same median that can get little, ceilings and floors along the way. And Michael Porter Jr. is a really good example of like a GPP type of guy. Sometimes he'll disappear and sometimes he will go freaking ballistic. So what we're trying to do and win GPPs, Michael Porter Jr. is usually a good play, and he's the type of guy also that even if his projection is low, it doesn't even matter. You know what I mean? Because like his tails and his ceilings are not going to be any less just because his median might be just a little lower.
Right.
If he goes off, he's just going to go off. So I definitely like that. It's one of those guys you can literally play every single day that he's not showing.
I agree. And I also think that he's being under projected. If you want to make a good side bet, he's projected to have average to get 18 and a half as his player prop tonight for points. I think it's one of the easier bets you're going to have in a while. Now, I'm not saying he's going to beat it every day, but he's going to average over 20 a game for sure. So that already, you're just getting some love there. Not to mention it's the first game of the year. He's going to come out firing. I really like the Michael Porter Jr. play, and I think it's going to be a sub 10% play as I'm looking at it right now. All right, let's talk about Sacramento and Portland, which oddly enough, I don't really have anything on the Sacramento side. And on the Portland side, it's just the same old thing and the same old prices and the same old stuff. Somebody will probably have a decent game here. I think you can make an argument for Nurkic. I think you can make an argument for CJ, but I don't feel in love with any of it. I actually think CJ might be the best play, but I wouldn't mind Nurkic as another one.
I have CJ McCollum and and maybe Nurkic as fringe plays, and Lillard as a fringe play, but it's pretty much it. Like you said, I mean, the price, these guys are all priced very healthy, and on the Sacramento side, just not getting much of anything. I'll probably, just we got to get him on again. Just in deference to Jack or whatever his last name is. I'll throw a couple of Lillards in just for funsies.
Yeah.
So he's always in play. That's all I'll say.
Totally agree.
And this could be one of those examples, by the way. If you somehow have lineups with Jokic in the flex, and you need some zigs and zags, I have no problem with you pivoting to Lillard in that last game. If it's not going to help you anyway to have Jokic, because you think it's gonna be popular, I have no problem going to like a 2% on Lillard in that spot, in a late swap situation. And what do you think about that? Anything else in this game?
Yeah, I agree. I will say that De'Aaron Fox, and maybe we should transfer and just really quickly jump over to FanDuel just for a second, just because I think it'd be fun to just talk about the. There's some like De'Aaron Fox, I think, is a strong play on FanDuel where I don't like him on DraftKings very much. But maybe we can just quickly go through our positions because I know that people love when we do. We don't even need to put it up on the screen. We can just talk about some of the guys who stand out for value on FanDuel. I actually think that like Maxi's still in play at 4.6. I love Shea. But I actually do think Derek White, because the position is kind of interesting on FanDuel. And I think that Cole Anthony and Goran Dragic, those would be my point guards on FanDuel. FanDuel did a better job pricing the rookies up a little bit.
Well, with multi-position eligibility, it's a little different. The analysis over there. What I think I want to do, if you wouldn't mind,
yeah,
I want to just go through and just identify guys that I like more on FanDuel,
sure,
right, than I did on DraftKings. And one guy that I alluded to earlier was Mo Bamba. I have him rated much higher on FanDuel relative to the way I have him rated on DK. Mm-hmm. And remember that he's multi-position eligibility. You can play him at power forward. So I think that makes sense. Derek White shows up a little bit more over here on FanDuel. I didn't even have him listed at all on DraftKings. And you mentioned Miles Turner over on DraftKings. He's power forward eligible. Actually, he's power forward only eligible on FanDuel.
Weird.
If you're gonna have multi-position eligibility, I mean, I don't understand that at all. And yeah, everybody else, I just kind of default back to my other takes, I guess. And remember, on FanDuel, you don't have to dip down into that cheap value. But I will say that Evan Mobley still looks like a good play over there at 4,800. What other values? Tyrese Maxey again, I thought was good. Oh, you know who shows up here on FanDuel a little bit more than he did on DraftKings? Someone from the Minnesota again, D'Angelo Russell, who I did not mention over on DraftKings. So I will throw him in the mix on FanDuel as well.
Yeah, it's mostly my guys. I agree with all of those. I would say that over here, because the pricing is a little bit tighter, Tobias Harris, Kyle Kuzma, D'Angelo, like you mentioned, and I had Mobley and Bamba and White and Fox. Don't forget those steals and blocks add up on these sites. You know what I mean? Like that, yeah. Big difference for guys like Fox who are going to get a couple steals, and even Scottie Barnes being overpriced, I'm still like interested in. But I do think Tobias Harris is more in play on FanDuel than he is on DK tonight.
Hey, hang on, one other guy who's showing up on FanDuel, and we didn't talk about him on DraftKings. I don't even know his prices. He's a guy who used to play a little bit last year, and with Zion out, I don't know if he's directly affected, but Najee Marshall is close to the minimum on FanDuel at small forward at 3,900. Is he like still going to be a part of the offense or whatever it is, or is he going to benefit from Zion being out? Is he playable on DraftKings? I didn't even notice him.
I didn't feel speculative and kind of fishy to me.
Yeah,
he's never really been a part of
definitely fishy. I mean, that's like.
I think he's fine. I do. I think if you're looking for a value, he's fine. I would prefer to spend a little bit more for Duarte or Kuzma personally.
Right.
And maybe Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who for some reason, actually definitely Nickeil Alexander-Walker. That's a little too cheap for him at 5,100. And just sort of to go through, I think that's pretty much most of the differences I have. I'm just taking a look to see if there's anything different. No, I think that's mostly it. I think you can also play some of the guys who are, some of these rookies who are priced more appropriately on FanDuel. I think that there's actually some value in playing those guys on FanDuel, specifically because people are going to see the price difference and say, I'll play that guy on DraftKings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like Wendell Carter over here as well as Mo Bamba. That's the only thing I would add. I think they're both really strong plays. I don't know how they're going to run that stuff in Orlando. Should be interesting. But I mean, to sum up, so my FanDuel guys are Fox, White, Mobley, Bamba, Kuzma, Harris, D'Angelo Russell, like you said. Najee Marshall is okay, I guess. Wendell Carter. Those are the different guys. The main guys for me on the DraftKings and then in general are Duarte, Jeremy Grant, Scottie Barnes, one of Gafford or Harrell. I'm still interested in both of them. I just want to figure out which one I want to play more. Fred VanVleet, Goran Dragic, Kyle Kuzma, Evan Mobley, Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, Lauri Markkanen. I'm actually going to make sure I put some Jared Allen in. Jalen Green, Karl Anthony Towns, Joel Embiid, Maxey, Ingram, Suggs, Podol, SGA, Giddey, MPJ, and Jokic. I know it's a lot of names, but I'm gonna have to narrow through this list. I mean, it's a lot of, there's a lot of good plays. Favorites plays being, Embiid, Scottie Barnes, Mobley, Michael Porter Jr. as a tournament play. I really like Lauri Markkanen. Yeah, those are basically my favorites over there.
You're going to be able to play, what's his name, Embiid and Jokic together with no aggravation if you want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing that I think people are going to do. The Lauri Markkanen thing I got to look into because I really didn't have him rated all that high. So which means that no one else is. So he's probably going to be low owned.
I don't think he's going to be low owned.
You don't think?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to know because very early projections I'm looking at has him at 18% on DraftKings.
He's a pretty good pivot off of Mobley. I mean, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's just about do you play both those guys?
Right. Well, we'll have a good sense of.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough on these giant slates.
We'll have a good sense of it at post time. So we're going to be going again for those of you who weren't here for the for the smaller slate. We're going to do a live show an hour before lock, ending a half hour before lock. This way, we'll have the injury news. So hopefully, we'll be up to date on all that. I will have run like my later projections in there, so I'll be be able to speak intelligently about ownership and everything like that. And yet still we'll finish like a half hour before post time so that you can either spend that time going to other live shows or tweaking and building your lineup. So
and we will be I'll be in Discord as I was last night, and right after we got off the air they announced that Nicholas Claxton was starting, and I threw that into Discord. So stay in the Discord because you might get some updates that maybe you're not getting everywhere else if you're not watching any other shows or anything.
Right.
All right. Well, good luck, everybody. Let's have a great season. Got off to a great start. So let's crush it tonight. Good luck to all the true DFSers, and let us know how you're doing in the Discord. And the only thing I would say is just my only pet peeve: no more. Oh my God! If I only played this minimum cost guy instead of this guy, unless it was a guy you were really debating whether to play. Because there was a lot of that last night, and I'm going, okay, well, you weren't considering the other guy probably. If you're considering the other guy, and you're going, oh, it was a last minute swap. But if you just go, oh no, I could just play this guy. You could do that all day long in the NBA, especially. So we don't need to do that every day.
Let me tell you something else, guys. You could do that all day long in life. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's just nothing but negative energy, honestly. Yeah. Like, don't try not to be results oriented. Try not to say woulda, coulda, shoulda. what you always have to do is I always do, I'm telling you, this is the way I go through all the stuff that I do, including DFS. After, like, let's take DFS. You set your lineups. If 2 minutes after lock, you look at the ownership relative to whatever it is. If you are content with what you did, that's when you judge how good your lineups are. You can't judge it based on results. You just can't do it.
I totally agree. All right. Anyway, good luck to everybody. Let's have a great season. Hopefully we'll see you at the top of the leaderboards tonight.